Something is shifting in the global economy, and it's happening faster than anyone expected. Prices rise when demand falls. Growth slows, yet profits soar. Nations pull apart just when they need each other most. What's really going on, and why does everything feel unstable? For years, the global economy looked steady. Low inflation, predictable trade, cheap goods. But underneath, the system was built on fragile assumptions. Endless cheap labor, smooth supply chains, and geopolitical cooperation. When those pillars cracked, the stability we relied on collapsed almost instantly. The first tremors were political. Nations began turning inward, prioritizing protectionism over partnership. The United States, for instance, raised its average tariffs to the highest levels since 1945, climbing from just 2.3% to 10%. This didn't just affect a few products, it jolted the entire global system. The shockwaves hit industrial powerhouses that depended on that trade. Germany's economy contracted by 0.9% in 2023 and then shrank again in 2024. Raising fears that it was becoming the sick man of Europe. This was the first pillar, geopolitical cooperation, beginning to crumble. And then, the shock started stacking. The world didn't break overnight. It broke piece by piece. A ship stalls in a critical waterway, and weeks later, factories on the other side of the world halt production, and shelves begin to thin out. Think of the 2025 threat to close the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for nearly 20% of the world's oil. The mere possibility of a closure sent a wave of uncertainty through the markets, a stark reminder of how vulnerable those smooth supply chains really were. Supply chains did eventually untangle themselves, but the prices never really came back down. Growth slowed, but costs kept rising. Global trade volume fell by 6.3% year over year. The World Bank downgraded its global economic growth forecast for 2025 to a meager 2.3%.
Yet, the U.S. Federal Reserve projected that core prices would continue to grow at a 2.8% annual pace. Economists revived a word many hoped was gone forever: stagflation. And people everywhere felt it, long before policymakers admitted it. But this wasn't just economics. Something deeper was shifting. The very institutions designed to ensure stability were now being questioned. The International Monetary Fund issued warnings that the loss of central bank independence could trigger even wider instability. The pillars of the old economy, open borders, free trade, global trust, haven't just cracked. They're being fundamentally redesigned. The instability we're feeling isn't the system breaking, it's the painful, uncertain sound of whatever comes next being built in its place. The question is no longer just what is happening to the global economy, but what we will build to replace it.
For the first time, multiple superpowers are rising at once, but none are strong enough to stabilize the system alone. China is expanding its reach through its massive Belt and Road Initiative, while India's economic and technological growth positions it as another major player on the world stage. Without a single stabilizing force, they compete. The battlegrounds are trade, technology, energy, and the critical minerals that power our future. Every escalation sends ripples through the global economy. The US-China trade war, for example, didn't just stay between two countries. It disrupted supply chains worldwide, leading directly to higher consumer prices. The rivalry over semiconductors has become so intense that it's led to the formation of new strategic partnerships, like the Global Semiconductor Alliance, designed specifically to reduce dependency on any single nation. Each move creates higher costs, slower investment, and a pervasive sense of uncertainty that chills economic activity. There used to be a shared playbook, a set of common rules. Now, every nation is improvising, sometimes desperately just to stay afloat.
But hidden beneath this noisy, chaotic tug-of-war is a quiet force that is reshaping everything: demographics. Most of the world's wealthy nations are aging faster than their economies can handle. In Japan, the median age has climbed to 48.4 years, leading to a shrinking workforce and ballooning healthcare costs. European nations like Germany are facing severe labor shortages, prompting them to overhaul immigration policies to attract skilled foreign workers. They need people to sustain their economies. At the very same time, the regions with the largest youth populations, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, lack the infrastructure and economic opportunities to harness this demographic dividend. Nigeria has a median age of just 18.1, yet it struggles with immense youth unemployment and inadequate educational systems. This isn't just a slowdown, it's a fundamental mismatch on a global scale. An imbalance between the available workers, the necessary resources, and the centers of economic growth. This brings us to a stark and unsettling paradox. While families and individuals struggle with this uncertainty and these rising costs, many of the world's largest corporations are reporting record profits. In 2024, major tech companies posted earnings that were, by any measure, unprecedented.
So how? It's a combination of forces. Automation allows companies to boost efficiency while reducing their labor costs. Market dominance, achieved through global consolidation, gives them immense pricing power. The fewer companies that control an entire industry, like the airline sector, the easier it is for them to raise prices, even when their own costs, like fuel, go down. People look at this system and feel, deep in their bones, that it's rigged. A survey found that a majority of people across 36 countries believe the political influence of the wealthy is a major contributor to this inequality. And it's not some elaborate conspiracy. It's simpler and perhaps more troubling than that. The incentives that govern our global economy now reward resilience for companies, not for consumers. The system is working exactly as it was designed. It's just no longer designed for everyone.
The economy isn't collapsing, it's transforming. We're in a tectonic shift, away from a world optimized for pure efficiency toward one desperately trying to rebuild resilience. This new era is fragmented and unpredictable. Geopolitical tensions are fracturing old trade partnerships, threatening to slash global GDP by as much as 7% in a full decoupling scenario, Reuters.com. Growth itself is uneven. While the US economy decelerates, South Asia has become the world's fastest growing region, Reuters.com. This isn't a theoretical change. The pandemic and climate-related disasters exposed just how brittle our hyper-efficient supply chains truly were, richmondfed.org. So maybe the question isn't just what's happening, but what comes next? How do we navigate an AI revolution projected to add nearly $16 trillion to the economy, Forbes.com, while also tackling an urgent energy transition where 730 million people still don't even have electricity, APnews.com? Because the old economy isn't coming back, and the choices we make right now will build the new one.